Cloud Talk.
Let's just say it's a higher level of thinking.
I don't put enough value in how good the conversations were. So I was out thinking one night and I was like, you know what? This Cloud Talk is going to be it. Cloud Talk is everything. It's elevated dialogue. It's entrepreneurship. It's mental health. It's personal growth. It's basically everything that we need to succeed in life. So on my first official episode, I'd love to let them know who you are, my brother.
I mean, D. Burke, to most plainly known. Government, Dwight Burke, a lot of different things in my lifetime. Homie,
I could imagine. We're gonna
pretty
get to
much
it.
day one friend for a long time.
I think it's edging 25, maybe, probably, give or take,
Since
a junior high
very
school.
young, since you,
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Don't start doing math.
They're trying to age you.
But it's about 25
date
years.
them.
Not telling you, we both 26 years old.
Don't
right?
date yourself, bro. 20 forever.
Right? So, the number one thing I really wanted to talk about on Cloud Talk is this. Let's peel back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Your upbringing, your nationality. What's the upbringing like? Moms, dads, like the entire shit. Your nationality, the come up, coming back from immigrant parents. I know that whole thing. Walk us through that.
Basically, Guyanese mother, Bajan father, who you had the pleasure of knowing and connecting with for a long time. Legend in the town. If you ask most people in the Canarsie area. But yeah. Guyanese mother, Bajan father. Father was here first in the United States, came from Florida to then D.C., the Maryland, D.C. area, and then migrated further north to New York, Brooklyn, where he kind of laid his roots a little bit and connected with a lot of people. And that's kind of where our paths crossed very, very early. But yeah, Brooklyn, was like a melting pot for the West Indies, Africa. It's one of the most densely populated areas for Caribbean culture, West Indian culture. Obviously, Labor Day parade. People who know. Brooklyn is a big, heavy West Indian vibe. So that's really was my upbringing. I would say I lived in Queens first for a little bit, but then moved to Brooklyn, Flatbush area, and then mainly Canarsie before I ended up transitioning away for a little bit. But that's the main startup story.
So, 100%. So people get clarity. His dad was like a coach in the community, super big community activist.
Still is.
Making sure facts, making sure that all the kids kind of have something to divert their attention to and their energy. So, that's something big. We're going to get into that. Mm-hmm. But what I want to peel back a little heavily is the pressures of being the American child from the immigrant parents.
First generation.
What is that, those type of expectations as like a young man growing up, even a young boy, what type of heavy personality traits were they forcing into your development?
I mean, a lot of just hard work because, when you come from the islands here, I know foundational Black Americans are what they classify themselves as, the people whose families were enslaved and taken to America. Ours were enslaved, taken to the Caribbean. So it's the same path for the West African slave trade to just disperse throughout different parts of the world. So coming from the West Indies, my parents being there, the Caribbean areas, me being a first generation American, I was born in the States, born in Brooklyn, New York, in the hospital. My roots were from here. So I didn't really know much about that until I was having to go there every summer. Understood. One summer Barbados, one summer Guyana, just we tired of parenting you for a couple months, so go down there, connect with your roots, connect with your family, and understand where you really come from, So when you come back here, back into school, back into whatever you're doing during that time, you got a little bit more grounded sense of family, sense of community, sense of just understanding what you have versus what you came from, where your family came from. So there was no really, I would say, pressures, or at least I didn't cognizantly understand that there was pressure at that point. But it was really just, this is you in a new space for your family being in this country now. So what life are you going to create? Because they really was just trying to get here to have some kind of a better upbringing for their children.
Understood.
So it's different. It's a different story, but at the end of the day, I would say it wasn't much pressure. It's just kind of figuring things out from a different perspective of people whose family was already here for generations. My grandmother was here, going back. So it was different. A little bit of divisiveness in a sense, because people who are from here maybe not understanding. And I know Brooklyn is different because Brooklyn has like a heavy, densely populated Caribbean culture.
Correct.
But for other people, you know, I had friends in Brooklyn and shit who family was from the South, you know, they from the West, they moved here. So that different dynamic with having people who are from here versus not, it was kind of a little bit to weed through early, but I wouldn't say it was pressure in any sense. It was really just figuring life out as far as what I'm going to do, knowing where my people came from.
Yeah. You know? From my, my upbringing was so heavily, my mother's from St. Vincent. Pop's not really active at that point. The thing that was like instilled in me was like this value of education. Go to school. School. I need you to go to school. Boy, go to school. Oh, you didn't do your class? Go to school. It's like everything was school.
Yeah.
But from a very young age with me, and I know everybody says this, so I'm not trying to just run BS with y'all, but I didn't feel the school connection to me. I didn't connect well with the do homework, get a test, do homework, write an essay, do homework, find a group, do an essay, get a test. I really didn't function with it. And from a very young age for me, I was like, I didn't like it. I always felt like this wasn't a connection to me, which I think developed my mindset later in life, which I'm going to get to. But how were you with school? So there's this pressure from family to succeed. You're not from here. They're like, yo, listen, we got you in a better scenario than we were brought up.
So you got to make something of it now. Yeah.
How was that? How was your schooling? Junior high school to high school? How was that?
I would say early on, like, my mind was always like, I would say school-wise, I was never lacking ability. I was lacking effort. Because, my mind could always think up to the level of other students. Like, even when I was young, like, my first thing was I used to write, like, short stories as a young nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe 6, 7. Like, my mind would think of stories. I would write them. I remember having, like, pages and pages of, like, just my own stories that I would tell. And I wanted to be an author early on, Math wasn't really my thing. I was into science and all that a little bit, but not as heavy to, like, go all in on the science. But like, storytelling, like, communication in that sense, like making sure that my thoughts went into some kind of a way that I could deliver to someone else was a heavy focus early. I wanted to be an author, and I was big at like writing and just mapping out ways to tell my story.
Understood.
And from that, it really just turned into that was my thing, but I never was really heavy bought into the school in the sense of this is going to be the thing that breaks me into society to where I'm successful. But I respected it. I understood like academics was important, and in my house they wasn't playing the same thing. Boy, your grades is not going right. Like you ain't doing nothing. You're not going outside. You're not playing ball. You're not doing none of that. So I had to maintain, but I was just really doing it from a sense of just getting by while I started to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life outside of just school is going to be the way. School is going to be it. I can
imagine. Yeah. I had this I had a really awkward upbringing in school. Like I really didn't do work. I was barely getting by. I was failing a lot. My grades were just, it got to a point where I was like, as long as I could get enough to play ball.
Facts.
And it got so bad for me. My grades were actually so low that when I took the SAT, the standardized something test, I don't know, academic probably, what I mean? Like, and I took it, I scored so highly that they actually investigated me because it didn't match. And, I was something in basketball. I wasn't, we wasn't LeBron James, but I was something enough to where they're like, this doesn't make sense.
It don't make sense
that
at
this
all.
guy is hovering in the 60s, getting like a 70.3, just enough to play ball. Yeah. And then I scored like almost like top 3 SATs in my score. In my school. It was like this unique thing. So I really disconnected with it. But you brought up ball. Now, basketball has been like your voyage through life. So when did you pick up the basketball? I know your pops is a coach, but when did that like enter into your upbringing and then change everything for you?
It really started early because my father was a multi-sport athlete. Like he played soccer, he played American football, not football like kicking. He played soccer and American football. Yeah. And then after he was not really that into football, he dove into basketball, and like basketball, like it really connected with him. Like the style of the game, the athleticism, the skill level, he really like took to it. So basketball was his main thing. He was never like he ain't never make it to no high level, but he just loved the game. You know what I'm saying? And so when he devoted his life to working with youth in the community, it just happened that I was his son, and you know, it's like, Pops, I'm going with you this weekend. What we doing? We playing ball. You know what I'm saying? So I can remember days as early as 5 a.m. I mean, not 5 a.m., 5 years old, excuse me, where we would be working out. And he would be teaching me how to catch a ball. Like, he'd throw the ball dumb hard at me, and I got to catch it. And if it don't hit me in my chest, hit me in my face, he's like, no, first thing you got to do is learn how to catch. This is like 5, 6 years old. So at that point, I would say mainly because him and my mother really wasn't together. He was in my life the whole time. So it wasn't like it was a thing where he was never around, but him and my mother weren't together, and he would be here and here, so I wouldn't have to have as much consistent time with them. So once I started to play ball, really, I didn't really connect with it, because at the end of the day, I'm going back for the week mates and spending most time with my mom. So I always had roots in the game, and then when he started coaching other people like you, like the Kojos, the Clydes, all the people that came up with us young on the basketball set, like he brought me along with it. But at that time, we was in Pvnch. So Pvnch, when I was there, things weren't really going so well. Like at that point, you knew how it was. It was 90s, you know what I'm saying? Different Brooklyn at that time. Still a lot of the same elements, but different Brooklyn at that time. So remember the niggas from South Shore up the street used to come down to the playground and like rob us. Like when it was on the, like, before school chilling, we playing ball, niggas coming down like from the block, right down Flatlands, running in the cages. Yo, give it up. You know what I'm saying? So that happened a couple of times while I was young still, going to Pvnch. So product of the environment, after a while, I'm like, nah, this ain't gonna happen. This ain't gonna keep happening. You know what I'm saying? So I started bringing things with me to protect myself to school, in the book bag, knives, all kind of stuff, like just to make sure that if they run down on me again, I need to feel like whether or not it's successful, I could protect myself. You know what I'm saying? Just, that's the environment I'm in. So I gotta adapt. Coming into Pvnch, joint fell out my bag while we was in class.
Got it.
Young and stupid, not really knowing like the right way to carry and make sure it's not visible to people. Fell on my back, so I ended up getting in trouble, like with the school. They was about to kick me out, suspend me, possibly. But
in reality, he's like a kid to the high school down the block. So I get, you know,
like I'm like 11 years old at this point.
You know
what I'm saying, to people 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 coming down the block. Oh, it's a Target. We like it. I'm taking it. I remember I had the Casio watch. I got that shit for Christmas. Like, and as soon as I went back out there, maybe like when we got back from Christmas break at school, I'm wearing my joint. We out there in the cold playing. Nigga running down the block, and I remember this to the day. It was you know, the Feeling It Jay-Z song, Feeling It. And like came down, saw my watch, and started singing that shit to me. Feeling it, then like I was feeling your watch. While the niggas is like, it's 5, 6 of them niggas robbed me for my watch right there. That was the time when I'm like, oh nah, it's done. It's done.
Crazy.
It's done. Told my mom, she's like, yo, like, you just got the watch.
Yeah.
Just got the watch. I'm like, yeah. Niggas ran down on me, took it. So at that point, I'm protecting myself, leading to me getting caught. So they about to kick me out of school because they think I'm now the aggressor.
Understood.
And I wasn't even built like that at that point. Like,
and you was a kid.
Right. I'm a kid. So my mother at that time, and this is right around tying it back to the old basketball thing, I started to get more into the game heavily then. But she, thief in the night, we out of here. I don't like the path that's coming for you. I don't like what's happening here. I want my child to not feel like he has to survive and end up getting himself in trouble because he's really just trying to protect himself.
Understood.
We out of here. Moved to Delaware. So at that point, I stayed in Delaware for a little bit. Came into a place where I found myself loving basketball more heavily.
Understood.
In a place where basketball, like, and if you know Delaware, like it came up a little bit. Right now they got the guy Busy Bones that's go crazy for the Nuggets out of Delaware, like one of the best players now in Delaware history, just because the heights that he's been managed to achieve. So at that point, nothing's going on for my recruiting. I'm like, yo, it's not lit down here. I'm playing ball. I'm not getting nowhere. I got to go back to New York. So from then, whole conversation on mine when we was there the last time, you know, it didn't go too well, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, no, I need this now because we was having conversations about what's next for me. Not into the academics. Like, I'm not academic. I'm not going to get an academic scholarship to school. And I remember having a conversation with her, like, and we was talking about college one day, and then she was discussing me possibly going, and she basically told me, without saying that, the only way you're going to college is if you get a scholarship. So then as soon as we had that conversation, no one going back to the whole, what are you going to make of yourself from your family being now coming to America to create a better life for you? I'm dead set on, all right, the only way I'm going to get to school and maybe make something of myself is to get a scholarship.
And then you got to come back to the town.
So then I got to come back to New York, work on my exposure at that point, work on making sure enough eyes was on me to possibly put myself in position to achieve a higher level past high school. So that's really where the path into basketball came, because I was dead set on like, yo, I got to get a scholarship. I want to go D1.
Understood.
I had schools that I liked. St. John's I liked, Seton Hall I liked, just local stuff, because my vision wasn't even big enough to really imagine shit on that level. So I'm just grinding. I'm trying to get to school. Came back, went to Rice High School. From Rice High School, ended up going to St. Benedict's, played for Danny Hurley, amazing coach, which changed my life, and me ended up going into to Marquette. So that's kind of how I springboarded into the next level, which was college. But it all tied back to just having that path of having to leave to come back to get anything on the next level.
So let me pull back just a little bit. What's the number one, like, maybe personal trait that you feel like you had to possess to elevate to the point to where, like, yo, I'm now an actual basketball player? Like, what's the one or two, maybe even three personality traits or mental traits that you was like, this were the game changers for me to become like a serious athlete at that point?
That's a good question. I say resilience, number one, because at that point in my head, there was the only way I knew something was going to happen for myself, which was get to the next level, college, and then see what could happen from there. So I'm really just like that. I got to keep fighting through situation after situation, maybe not being highly recruited because I didn't have enough exposure early, or maybe just having to go from back to Delaware back to Brooklyn. Like I'm really trying to find a way to do it. So my brain had to remain resilient and like, all right, this opportunity work. Summer camp went well, but it ain't put me on the level that I wanted to go to. What's the next thing? What's the next move I got to make? I became fixated on how to get, one, better as a player, and then two, how to let that opportunity create itself for me to go further with the game being what catapulted me that way. So I say resilience. A lot of it would come to like self-reflection. You know what I'm saying? Because
even at such a young age.
Young age, definitely. Because a lot of times I'm like seeing myself being as maybe talented as another guy, or it's like, you know, I can compete with this guy, but why haven't things gone the way for me than it was for him? So self-reflection was like, for me, understanding that my path was different, like leaving New York and not being able to stay. Like the main thing everyone always say to me, like, bro, if you never left New York, blah, whatever, you know, you would have had that training earlier, you would have had that environment that would have like turned you into whatever they thought I was
Understood, yeah.
So really just resilience and self-reflection, understanding that everybody's path is different, but how you go get it really just depends on your determination, you know.
This might be a weird question, but do you feel that these traits are like, are you born with it? Or do you feel like these are acquired along your journey? Because the skill set of self-reflection to understand that the importance of what that really means, to look back at oneself and really go, yo, I am at this point, or I'm not, or I'm looking at this guy to the left of me, this guy to the right of me, and they're accelerated. Do you feel like you're born with this level of resiliency, self-reflection, confidence?
Nah. I would say nah. I mean, a lot of it came from like learning on the fly, because like it ain't like it. There was a lot of times where I'm like, yo, this motherfucker, he ain't like me. Like, you know, why he getting here? So a little bit of it was like checking yourself on being like a hater, you know? So for me, it's like I would have the time where I feel that, and then my mind would just be like, nah, all right, you got to turn that into, you know, you got to work harder. You know, you got to work harder, because if he got it, then it means it's possible. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
And I just got to find my way through whatever I got to go through to get there.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was born with it. I think just over time I've been having to like check myself often mentally. It ain't the easiest thing to do. It ain't the easiest thing to do for now niggas as big as us. Like big age that we are. Like a lot of people fall short to their own, I guess, lower self or lower level of thinking. You know. And for me, it was just like something I've honed over time that just made me think differently than a lot of other people and stuff. But again, it's not to say I'm perfect at it. Like there's definitely times where I've like second guess myself versus another person and all that stuff. Like it just happens naturally, but you just have to constantly be resilient in your thinking of how you are going to affect your situation for the better.
I got it. So you get the opportunity to play at Marquette University. Like this is not like some play around. This is not
top
some
25
joke.
Top
every 25 year. In the nation.
NCAA tournament every year.
I mean, Marquette is the home of Dwayne Wade, Wesley Matthews,
Jimmy Butler.
A lot of
other guys.
I mean, we're seeing Jimmy in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like the NBA Eastern Conference Finals.
He's dreaded up now.
I know. He put on the weave. It was crazy.
You like Jimmy Dreads?
Jimmy Dreads. Listen, Jimmy Dreads. I'm not mad at a Jimmy Dread. Let me tell you why. Because it's like, hey, listen. If a girl could do it, hey, she'd be a baddie. Let my man do his dreads.
I mean, yeah, no doubt.
Know, listen, whether he got the dreads or the Caesar, I don't think he was attempting to attract me. So I'm not mad at the Jimmy Dreads.
No, I mean, I'm just generally asking. You know
the Jimmy Dreads are
hot online, so hot take. I just wanted to throw that in there. I'm not mad. Nah. Going back to your point,
Marquette. So you get this call, you get the opportunity to be at such a amazing major stage, super prestigious.
Yes.
I mean, awarded, accredited. You know what I mean, respected.
A lot of stamps from that school.
This is a lot. Yeah. So now you're there. Mm-hmm. What type of confirmation did that do to your mental health, to your personal drive, to know that this guy who came to Canarsie, couldn't make it, went to Delaware, said, I'm not going to quit. I can make it in New York, came back, dominated, did what you did in the ranks, got to a Catholic school, then went to Jersey, made your way through prep school, and now a major Division I program, and now you're there. Like the level of resiliency it's unbelievable. So what did that do for your soul when you're there that first day when you put on that jersey?
I mean, it was good. It was it was something I was waving my hat, like hanging my hat on, like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's also a humbling experience too. That's when you realize, like, it's a bunch of other people that's just as nice, even nicer.
Everybody good here. You know, like it ain't no play around.
It ain't that, you know.
The 12th man ready to go.
Yeah, like, and it's competitive. Like, I grew up, like, that's literally, I would say, from a competitive standpoint, from a hard work standpoint, from a way that I view life now, I learned a lot of that from Marquette. And it's because every day you're going against competitors, you're going against people that genuinely give a fuck about you, they care about you, like, because they got real friends there still to this day. So I've connected with them lifelong, but it's like real. It was a real iron sharpens iron environment. Like,
understood. Like,
you bred competitive, you bred hard work, and you bred minimal excuses.
Yeah.
So for me, that was very humbling my first year, and I had been through that on a lot of levels in Rice and St. Benedict's. But when it's so elevated to, and now it's a stage where the school is making millions of dollars off of the success of the team. I mean, yeah. So now everything is elevated. You're getting the best of everything. You're getting the best treatment. You're getting the best coaching. You're getting the best, I would say, academic advisors around the team. All that stuff training, they put in place to have you be successful. Exactly. Top notch still to this day. Top notch university. So I'm seeing all that real time. Like, it's a little overwhelming. Like, okay, I got here now, but like, what's next? Like, how do I survive here?
Yeah.
With so and so who's gonna play more than me if I don't outplay him in practice.
Correct.
So and so who's been here for a while and he had his spot cemented, but I'm expected to go against him every single day in practice and compete.
Correct.
Like, he's about to get drafted. Like, you got to guard him every day. Like, how do you survive in that kind of environment? And it sharpened me in a way that's like, I'm just bred for competitive now. Like
so
on a different level.
When you got there, it's like with Wesley. You played with Wesley. Y'all are the same class?
All 4 years. Wesley Matthews, Jarrell McNeil, Dominique James. There was another guy named Matt Bortenson who couldn't cut it, and he transferred out this first year. But it was the four of us. Yeah. Same class, freshmen all the way to seniors. Amazing. My brothers still to this day, still love them. Yeah. Some of us don't communicate as much as we used to, but it's all love when we see each other. It's
amazing.
It's Gucci, yeah.
Is it? I mean, I think who was it? Oh man, I'm not sure who it was. I want to say it was Rondo who was speaking, and I might be wrong, so don't quote me on it. But he said only 5,000 people have actually ever been in the NBA. Almost, it was such a very low number. And
compared to
you know what I
people
mean,
that play
just
basketball,
overall, and to think that somebody that you were shoulders with could compete on that, just and it's with all due respect to a Wesley. What do you feel like was the difference with Wesley making the NBA and maybe anybody else that you've played against, or anyone, or maybe anything else not getting the? What was the game changer? Is like, maybe walk us through that, from being able to be like, yo, I was with someone who's actually made the NBA. You know what I mean?
You mean like from a perspective of like what
Everything.
turn
Like,
the tables for them, or like my path?
What might be the difference? Is it the physicality? Is it really the playing ability? Is it the mental? Is it the drive?
It's a lot of things.
Is it
going to that? I mean, it's a lot of that, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is also like time and opportunity.
Understood?
Like Wesley, just to tell, I mean, not to tell the story. If you see this, Wes, hopefully I tell it to the best of my ability, because it's never to make you look bad, because you earned everything you got. So,
Yeah.
like Wes, for instance, when he came into his path into the pros, he was undrafted. Like,
Understood.
undrafted. You know, my college roommate Jarrell McNeil too, undrafted. Like, these guys is like studs, like certified, should be in the league, I think, at that point, and undrafted. So to them, it's like a smack in the face. Like, okay, like I believe I should be here. But Wes's path really turned into like they do the vet camp stuff. Like, you come in for the preseason. From there, you might play your way onto the roster in the season. And then from there, they have it to like January something, I think was the deadline. No, don't quote me on that. But they have a deadline to where they wanted to keep you on for the rest of the season.
Gotcha.
Or from there, you would end up, being let loose or something like
Understood.
that, right? So Wesley came in right in the midst of, I think Ronnie Brewer was on that team. Darren Williams was on that Utah team, his rookie year, and somebody else, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they had a lot of injuries in the preseason.
Amazing.
So invited to vet camp.
The clouds open up for you.
So for him, he like, yo, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna play hard, I'm gonna be the first person on the floor, I'm gonna defend hard, like Marquette bred, tough, like stuff like that.
Correct.
So coach loved him. You know what I'm saying? Kept him on the roster, headed into his rookie year, them playing in the playoffs. Guarding Carmelo Anthony.
Amazing.
Guarding Kobe Bryant. Like, in the play, it's like, you the young boy, you got the most energy on the team. I can't expect him to do it. I'm going to put you in there for a little bit of time. Like, what you going to do with it? I'm going to maximize my time, maximize my minutes. So they really ended up like liking him to the point where like, yo, and it's kind of the same thing with all Marquette players. Like, we kind of got a niche in the NBA to say like, it's something about the Marquette boys basically.
Yeah.
So he played his way onto the roster, and then from there they ended up having some level of success. I think they got eliminated in the second round that year of the playoffs or whatever. But him having that path into the NBA, then coming into his year after being a rookie, he's basically he's unrestricted. He was a restricted free agent actually. Yeah. So going into that summer, that off season, like Portland threw him a bag saying we're gonna throw a number that we know Utah can't match.
Understood.
Basically. So from then it's like, if you ain't gonna match that as a team, he gotta go, and that's his bag. So that was his path into the league. So it really just goes doubling back to what I was saying earlier. It's really just about skill.
Yeah.
Being able to be a specialist at like one or two things, doing really, really well at that, to where you do it at the highest level. And a lot of that stuff is like opportunity. If you're not the highly touted first, second, third pick, like that first round, like if you don't get those guaranteed contracts out the gate, those people that are expected to come in and make an impact right away. Yeah. If you're not in that path, you kind of got to find your line and find your lane and like dive into it to where you do a lot of things very well to compete for your spot. And then if you stick, you stick.
So let me ask you this question about.
Let's just say it's a higher level of thinking.